Attention passionate Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the AFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Pittsburgh Steelers' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Pittsburgh Steelers fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Pittsburgh Steelers fans. Let's get to the news. Alright, folks, sit down because what I'm about to tell you could be one of the biggest NFL stories of the season, especially for Steelers fans who are always looking for that edge, that move that could catapult their team back into serious Super Bowl contention. And the story revolves around none other than A.J. Brown, the star wide receiver of the Philadelphia Eagles, and a hypothetical trade that has everyone buzzing. But not just any trade, this is about the perfect storm, a scenario where the Steelers could potentially land a game-changing talent, and I promise, it's not just wishful thinking. Now, let's set the scene. The Eagles, currently undefeated at 4-0, are sitting pretty at the top of the NFC East, fresh off a Super Bowl appearance last year and looking like a powerhouse. But as with many teams that reach the peak, there's always some undercurrents, some whispers behind the scenes. And in this case, those whispers are about A.J. Brown. Brown, who's been one of the most dynamic receivers in the league since his arrival in Philadelphia, has started the 2025 season on a bit of a roller coaster. His stats, well, they're not what we're used to seeing from a guy of his caliber. Over 4 games, Brown has only managed 14 receptions for 151 yards and just a single touchdown. That's a far cry from his 2024 numbers, where he was averaging well over 70 yards per game and more than double the receptions. What's even more intriguing is how he's performing lately. His standout game was in Week 3, when he exploded for 109 yards and a touchdown against the Los Angeles Rams. But in the other 3 games, he's been relatively quiet, producing only 42 yards in total, which has sparked some concern among fans and analysts alike. It's not just about the numbers, though. It's about the vibe, the mood around Brown. Recently, he's posted some cryptic tweets, phrases like "if you're not welcomed" and "shrug your shoulders and be on your way," which naturally sent social media into a frenzy. Now, Brown quickly clarified that those messages were Bible verses, not trade signals, but the timing was enough to get everyone talking. And then, in a follow-up interview, Brown made some comments that only added fuel to the fire. He said, "It's fair to want the ball," and then added, "but it's not about targets or putting numbers up. It's about helping this team win when things stall." That's a pretty telling statement, folks. Whether it's frustration, passion, or the early signs of a rift, it's clear that Brown is feeling some type of way. And in the NFL, you never know how these things evolve, especially when the season is just heating up. Now, let's bring it over to the Steelers' perspective because, as many of you know, Pittsburgh has been quietly waiting for that franchise-changing wide receiver. They've got the veteran quarterback Aaron Rodgers, still playing at an elite level at 41 years old, and a roster that's built to compete now. The Steelers, under head coach Mike Tomlin, have always emphasized toughness, physicality, and a relentless desire to win. And Brown, with his toughness, leadership, and postseason experience, fits that mold perfectly. Imagine him lining up on the outside, commanding double coverage, making contested catches, and opening up the entire offense. That would give Rodgers a true number 1 target, a guy who can take the top off defenses and change the way opponents game plan against Pittsburgh. Think about the fit on the field. Brown's ability to win one-on-one matchups would be a game changer for the Steelers' offense. It would elevate the play of others like DK Metcalf and Ben Skowronek, who could benefit from the extra attention Brown would draw. But more than that, it's about what Brown brings off the field. His toughness, leadership, and the playoff pedigree are exactly what Pittsburgh looks for in players. The Steelers have a history of making bold trades, of going all in when the moment calls for it. Adding a player like Brown would send a message that they're serious about contending again, about chasing another Lombardi trophy while Rodgers still has some gas in the tank. Of course, making a move like this isn't simple. Brown is under a lucrative 3-year, $96 million contract, which makes him one of the highest-paid receivers in the league. Philadelphia would demand a significant package in return, and the Steelers would need to be smart about how they structure the deal. A realistic and balanced trade offer could look something like this. The Steelers send over a couple of second-round picks for 2026 and 2027, acknowledging Brown's elite talent and immediate impact. They could also include a promising young offensive player, like wide receiver Roman Wilson or tight end Pat Freiermuth, to help fill Brown's void and provide the Eagles with some future upside. This kind of trade offers a win-win scenario. Pittsburgh gets a proven game-breaker, a true offensive cornerstone, without sacrificing too much of their future draft capital. For Philadelphia, it means they can start their rebuild or retool without completely dismantling their core, especially if they get a couple of draft picks and a young talent in return. It's a strategic move that could give the Eagles more flexibility to address other needs, like strengthening their defense or adding depth elsewhere. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Logistically, it's complicated. Brown's contract would require some reworking of the Steelers' salary cap, and giving up high draft picks limits their future roster building. But for a franchise with championship aspirations, sometimes you have to make bold moves. This could be that move. Think about it. Pairing Rodgers with a receiver of Brown's caliber could instantly elevate the Steelers into the AFC's upper echelon, possibly even competing with the likes of Kansas City and Buffalo. It's a move that could redefine their offense, giving Rodgers a true number one to throw to, someone who can command attention and help the team reach new heights. And let's not forget, if the trade happens, it's not just about the short-term gains. It's about setting a tone, making a statement that the Steelers are all in, that they're willing to make bold, franchise-altering decisions to chase that elusive Super Bowl. The timing is crucial. If Philadelphia decides that their offensive identity is shifting, or if they believe they can rebuild around other weapons, the Steelers' offer might just be too tempting to ignore. Now, I want to come back to the bigger picture because this trade idea isn't just about one player or one team. It's about the evolution of the NFL itself. Teams are always looking to maximize their windows, to find that missing piece that takes them from good to great. And for the Steelers, Brown could be that piece, a player who changes everything on offense, who makes life easier for Rodgers and the entire team. For Philadelphia, losing Brown would be a blow, but they could use the draft capital and young talent to rebuild quickly and stay competitive. This whole saga is a perfect illustration of how the NFL is constantly shifting, how rumors become reality, and how teams are always looking for that extra edge. For Steelers fans, the idea of landing A.J. Brown is tantalizing because it's not just about adding a star. It's about transforming the entire offense and giving the team a real shot at a deep playoff run. It's about vision, boldness, and a willingness to do whatever it takes to bring another Lombardi trophy to Pittsburgh. And now, Pittsburgh Steelers fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this? Do you think the Steelers should go all in on a trade for A.J. Brown? Would you be willing to give up some future draft capital for a player who could instantly change the franchise? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Steelers. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Pittsburgh Steelers news because this story isn't over yet. Big moves are always on the horizon, and we'll be here to cover every single one of them.